Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and what a delight. I've been waiting for this for a long time, and I am so honored to have in the studio with us today Pastor Peter John Courson. He's one of the pastors at Applegate Christian Fellowship. You were senior pastor for a while, and now he just runs everything.
Or runs in some direction, I'm not sure.
Anyway, he's here to share a fascinating story. Quite honestly, Pete, I wish I had you for about 3 days to tell the story, but we're going to try to cram it in a little bit. How are you?
Perry, I'm doing good today.
Today.
God's got his grace for me today.
Today.
So thank you.
You have gone through an incredible experience with your health, and I don't know how far back it goes, but give us a quick synopsis when you first became ill up to most recently.
Okay, a quick one, no problem.
Yeah.
I've been battling with Crohn's disease, which
Right.
is fairly, not really common, but it's not out of the extraordinary thing. So I 20 years or so.
Wow.
And so that's just kind of been a battle. But about a year ago, I just checked out of the hospital a year ago today.
Really?
Amazingly.
Oh, there you go.
Checked out, so which is a good thing. I was there for about 6 weeks or so. Something, somehow the Crohn's, I believe, was related to it, but it crept up into my head, into my brain, so I got cerebral meningitis, they call it.
Wow.
20-something little tissue things going on in my head, so now at least I got a good excuse for my head being the way it is.
Well, mine is age.
We'll get any excuse we can, right?
There we go.
So I was there, and but it was, I don't remember much about it.
Yeah.
I had an incredible encounter with the Lord there. He was faithful to me, and my dad just sat by the bed, I think, praying for me. People that knew the Lord that were on the staff there were praying for me. You and the people that you're connected to.
Yeah,
my
you
brother.
were on our prayer list for weeks. Still are.
And I need it,
Yeah.
and the Lord answered it. So I was teetering, into eternity there for a second, for a while, and that's where I had an encounter with the Lord, a vision that I can't hardly explain, but I tried to, and I put it in a little book as best as I could.
Well, this book is the result of that. It's entitled A Glimpse of Heaven, A Vision of Eternity in a Moment of Hell. There's a
There you
picture
go.
of it there on the screen. Where can they get the book, Pete?
You can go to, I got a little website if they want to check it out at peterjohncourson.com. You can click on there, or Amazon. It's on Amazon. You can pick it up there. It's $5.
$5.
Yeah.
Incredible story. All right. I want to spend most of the time talking about what happened.
Yeah.
What happened? You got really sick.
Yeah.
And they didn't think you were going to make it.
Yeah.
Did you go into a coma? What happened?
Yeah, I did. I was in, I don't, again, have a great recollection myself, which is, I don't mind.
That's wonderful.
It really is.
Yeah, it's simple.
I'll take
simple.
it.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
But they thought they were, with my dad and my wife, they were just having this conversation. Should we let him go, or should we keep him because we don't know the fallout or the ramifications. And after, I guess, from prayers and just struggling with the decision, they decided, let's just go through with it, operate on his brain and what have you. And I'm here today, so it must have worked okay.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
knowing that I had children and all that going into the equation. But while I was there, I think about how Paul had a vision of heaven, and he says, I can't put it in words. And that makes sense.
Yeah.
And on the other hand,
Whether in the body or out of the body,
Yeah.
I don't know, but it happened.
Right?
Yeah.
on the other hand, John has a vision of heaven, and he puts it in Revelation, and he, verse by verse, detail by detail for 22 chapters. So I could see either way in my encounter, but I had a real short but real impacting vision of what I believe was heaven in that otherwise hellish experience.
All right. I've heard bits and pieces of it, so help me through this. But the first thing that was noticeable was it was timeless. Mm-hmm. Explain that.
Yeah, one way I would explain that is I don't know if I was there for a second, an hour, a day. It was just all one now. Wow. That was my experience.
Okay.
The greatest, in fact, when I, quote, came back, however you want to describe that, I was almost depressed because I had to come back.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
At the same time, I love my wife and my daughters,
Yeah, yeah.
so I'm glad for them. On the other hand, it was just such a moment that there was no real event after event. It was just an experience that was incredible.
Pete, were you clinically dead?
You'd have to ask my wife or my dad because I don't even remember.
Okay.
I don't think so. But there was 3 or 4 times, if I wasn't dead, I was on my way out. Let's just say that.
Close to flatline.
Let's just say I was checking out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what'd you experience? What'd you sense? What'd you see?
One word, from what I've been told, I come back, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it. I'm out of whatever the vision or what have you. I'm somewhat conscious, even though I didn't make sense for weeks and weeks after this. I still don't make a whole lot of sense, but I was really just babbling about who knows what. And I come back, Perry, and I guess from what I'm told, from my dad or my wife who were there, I just said, that was fun. That's what I said. That was fun.
That was your response?
That was my response.
That was fun.
That, from what I recall now and wrote down in this little book, it was. It was that's all I can explain is fun. That was the moment.
Did you see people?
Yes.
Who'd you see?
I saw my mom. My mom, Terry, who went to heaven some decades ago now.
Right.
And I saw my sister, and we were having fun. We were dancing. That's all we were doing. And I've never danced in my whole life. I never wanted to dance. I'm not a dancer. I have 2 beautiful daughters that we've adopted from Africa, and they can dance. They're not getting that from their dad. I'll tell you that right now.
Right.
We were dancing. We were dancing, and
You're dancing with your mom and sister, who both are in heaven.
Yeah, we were dancing with them, and the saints. I mean, I was dancing, and let me explain it. But I was dancing with David, and with Esther, and with Abraham, you name it. But the thing is,
You recognized them.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
We never looked at each other, whether it was my mom or my sister, or let's talk about David or Esther. I never, like we're talking now,
Right.
I didn't sit there and look at them or stare at them or have any kind of eye contact, because we were having too much fun. We were so busy dancing, you don't have time at that moment to just sit there and look at each other and have a conversation like we're having right now. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm just telling you what I experienced in that particular vision.
How'd you feel? Peace? What'd you feel?
Fun, laughing.
Fun.
I've always known heaven to be eternal and light and fulfillment. I never knew it was going to be that much fun.
Did you sense that the Lord was near, or did you see him?
That's a good question, and it dawned on me, and I mentioned it in this little book. But the one person, and it dawned on me, the one person I didn't look at or see was Jesus. So the first thing one might think is, I hope you were in the right place, Pete.
Well, you didn't feel any heat, did you?
No. That's the good thing. It wasn't too hot.
Okay.
So I'm grateful for that. I was having a lot of fun, and I knew I was with the saints, including my mom and my sister.
Wow.
But there was this in the horizon, so to speak, as we're dancing in these fields of gold. I mean, they were like, it wasn't streets of gold that I saw or experienced, but it was like wheat almost, or tares. I mean, it was beautiful though. It was gold, and but off, not too far, but off in the horizon, the distance a bit, Perry, was this incredible citadel, is the way I would describe it.
Really?
That's the word that comes to the top of my mind.
Yeah.
It was a citadel of somewhat transparency, but in other places not so much easy to see through. And I just knew, or I still know, that's where Jesus was and is. And as we were dancing, we were making our way toward this citadel. And I believe, as I am now more conscious and just kind of reflecting on it, we were dancing towards there. That's where the wedding is going to be. And that's where the groom is waiting, so to speak.
Yeah.
We're dancing because it's a wedding party.
Right.
I was having the most fun of my life I've ever had.
Wow.
He, in this encounter, was and is in that citadel waiting for us. So the reason I would suggest I didn't see Jesus is because he was in the Citadel waiting for us. The wedding hasn't begun yet. You got to get there, Perry. You're going to be there. I got to get there. I'm going to be there. So are everyone that's watching that believes in the Lord. Wow. We are going to be there. And so the reason why I didn't see Jesus, the wedding didn't start yet. We all got to get there. See.
We're talking to Peter John Courson. His book is entitled "The Glimpse of Heaven: A Vision of Eternity and a Moment of Hell." He has suffered greatly physically in his body for years, and I can't imagine as a parent or as a spouse having to make the decision to let a loved one go, you know. And yet in our family, we've been at that door twice. And so I thought, But he comes out of this experience saying that was fun. That's the understatement of the day. But I want to take a break, Pete. When I come back, were you told you had to go back?
Yes.
Okay. Who told you that? Don't answer that.
Got it.
All right. Let me take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
Welcome back to Focus Today, and what a delight to have in the studio with us. Been waiting to talk to our good friend, Pastor Peter John Courson. He's associate pastor on staff with his family out at Applegate Christian Fellowship. But this young man has been through the storm, and God has used him miraculously in so many ways. He's fought Crohn's disease, if we can say it that way, for over 20 years, and accelerated to a point where it basically was going to take his life. And in that experience, he had a vision and a glimpse, an experience. I don't know if he went there and came back. It's kind of a little foggy in those areas, but he certainly saw heaven and what it's like to be in heaven. Your story is fascinating, Peter, because you know, yeah, that was fun, and you didn't want to come back, but you did want to come back. But you were told to come back.
Yep.
You're there. So that would suggest you were there.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit maybe deeper than a vision, but some kind of a genuine experience. Who told you to come back?
The Lord, and by that I mean, you know, it wasn't necessarily an encounter face-to-face with the Lord, although that would have been great, but I guess you can't live so much and see the Lord maybe. Moses wanted to see the Lord and couldn't, so
and turned his back.
He had. So I can see where this all is working out like that. But somehow the Lord spoke to me. He said two things. He said, "You're going to be healed, Pete." That's when all this is transpiring in the now that I'm talking about. Even before I was having fun, if that's the word. When I was really suffering, the Lord spoke to me, and He said, in my spirit, He said, "You're going to be healed." And I thought, that's good. That's good news. But that was nothing compared to what the next experience or the thing He was also going to say to me, and that is, you're going to see heaven, but you're not going to stay there. And at that moment, I thought, good, because I have 4 daughters to raise, teenagers and little girls still. So I'm glad. I don't want to stay there until I got there. Now I look back, I go, actually, I would rather stay there. That's why I think He gave me the heads up, you're not going to stay, because He knew I would have been bitterly disappointed to leave, except that He already gave me that warning, so to speak, that word as well.
Wow.
So the Lord spoke to my heart. It was the Lord.
All right. So you're back. And you're back. And you're getting better every day. Your strength is coming. Your healing is there.
Yes.
That's without maybe some setbacks here and there, but for the most part, you're on a progression forward.
I am.
A lot of people pray for that experience but don't get it. And you've experienced it. What would you say to them in giving them hope, especially those who are on the edge of going to experience that? What would you say?
I think that the Lord had me see that in order to share that. I really do love going to the hospital, particularly when it's not me in the bed, but even then, because of this kind of experience. But I go to the hospital and I tell people that are given days or hours that believe in Jesus, I say, you're about to have a lot of fun. And it lights their face up, It really does. Where they were hurting, it's even still physically in pain or maybe even depressed. All of a sudden they go, really? I never thought of it like that. I said, trust me on this. You're about to have a lot of fun. And it gives them that hope. And I think that's why the Lord had me experience that, to be able to say that to you or to people that are listening or watching, but to people in the hospital as well. It's about to get fun.
Because a lot of people will preach about heaven with absolute assurity, which is wonderful. And I think the scripture obviously backs that up. But you experienced it. You can preach it from a different angle. You can say, been there, and here's what it's really is like. It almost takes the fear and the anxiety of death away, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, that's a good way of stating it, Perry, because it's almost as though it's like an elevator. You're getting to where you're supposed to be. And let me tell you, when the doors open and the dinger goes off on the elevator, you're about to enter into what you've always, even more than you could dream of or imagine, what you've been looking forward to down. You thought it was going in the job or in that relationship or in some experience here on earth. It's nothing compared to what you're about to experience when the doors open.
I have had the benefit of listening to many of your sermons, and you are a gifted speaker. There's no question about it. But has your message changed as a result of this?
That's a good question. I've always preached, or not always, but really recently, in the last some years, so recently in my life, the grace of God, how I know I need His grace. So that, when I saw what I've experienced, only gets reaffirmed to me, is His grace is going to see us through. His grace is going to get us there. And then when we're there, we're going to enjoy His grace all that much more. And I look at my life or other people's as well, and I go, when you're struggling with temptation, you need His grace. When you fall into sin, you need His grace. When you're hurting and you're sick, you need His grace. And it's His grace that's going to see us through all the way. So really it just strengthens that idea or that biblical truth of we're saved by grace, Perry. We're saved by grace.
You are the sender, and continue to be, of a lot of prayers. I know that your church and other churches and ministries have you on their prayer list. You were here and still are on our prayer list. I am encouraged that not only did God save you, but to give you an experience to share. It's kind of like it was the whipped cream on a sundae, on a chocolate sundae. It was kind of like not only were our prayers were answered, but we got this other response back from our prayers. That's amazing.
Pretty cool. The people that pray and prayed for me and are praying for me, I can't thank them enough, and so I think that's where I'll leave it up to what I saw in heaven. Good. And for you or other people that were praying for me, I'll say, trust me, when you get there, it's going to be whatever you gave to God, did for the Lord, did on behalf of His name, like such as praying for me, you're not going to regret it for a moment.
Did you see anything that you didn't expect to see when you were there, or the vision you had? Did you see anything, experience anything that was totally out of the ordinary that you thought?
Yeah, I hate to hit this again, but I have to because this is the whole totality of what I experienced. I didn't expect to have so much fun. Really? I've taught sermons on heaven.
So you thought it would be more serious?
Yeah, I did. I thought it's going to be fulfilling. It's what we're looking for. I thought it was going to be holy and beautiful and light and even lovely. I didn't know it was going to be like a big dance party. That's a cheap way of saying it.
Yeah.
That's what I experienced. So much so that I can now see why there's a certain aspect of no time in heaven, but at the same time, there's still events that are going to happen. The book of Revelation makes that clear. You know this, the more fun you're having, the theory of relativity, the less time even exists.
The other thing that comes out of this, Pete, is, and I think we as human beings limited to the human experience forget there's another dimension.
Yeah.
You know, they say the closest you experience that other dimension may be in your dream life, because it's all dimensional. It's got all kinds of sides on it. You're everywhere. You're thinking everything, and it's all going on. That's probably the closest. But it was another dimension, wasn't it? I mean, it was a dimension beyond description.
Yep. It really. I only describe it, or I try to, in the book that I even wrote it, and it's just a few pages, because it's hard to put into words.
Yeah.
And yet I know that even the Lord spoke to me and said, that's why I experienced what I did, to be able to share it, particularly with people in the hospital,
Okay.
or people that are struggling with health or hurting in their bodies, to be able to say, at least in some measure, what you're about to experience, you're not even think. You don't even have time to think about what you're going through now, or the pain that you suffered. And I'm not putting that in any kind of small way. I'm saying, though, what you're about to experience, you're not even remember this kind of thing. You're not going to even remember this stuff. It'll be impossible to remember it.
Paul alludes to that in Hebrews, where he talks about the suffering in this. It's only for a moment, but even Christ looked beyond the suffering of the cross and saw us.
Absolutely.
You know,
I can see that.
What do you want people to get from the book?
I want them to know that what we're going through or what we're experiencing now, make sure that you're going to heaven, that you are going to heaven. That's all I want, is when you get there, it's going to be fun. When you get there, it's going to be a fabulous time. Trust me, make sure that you're going to heaven. Once that is experienced, or really closed in because of what Jesus did on the cross, after that we can talk, we can discuss, we can, have all kinds of wonderful different dialogue. That's great. Make sure you're going to heaven. That's all I want to say.
I want to augur in on that point just for a moment, because in a world of easy believism, there is a commitment to go to heaven. There is a process to go to heaven. I just handed you a softball to preach. How does somebody get to heaven?
That's a great question, and I'm happy to answer it. All that we have to do is, the Bible says, if you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord, you shall be saved. And he did all the work, Perry, as you well know. Yeah. He said it is finished. It's all by his grace, not by my work or your behavior. It's what he has done. He has paid the price, and that's what makes heaven so much fun, because we go, this has nothing to do with my performance or my anything, spirituality. And I think that's why we can just lighten up and have such a great time, and not take ourselves so seriously, but take Jesus very seriously.
You're a fulfillment of something I've said on the air for 34 years, and that is, whatever God saves you from or brings you through, he's usually turns you around and makes you a minister too. And now you find yourself in the hospital as a chaplain.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing, isn't it?
I wouldn't have ever probably signed up for that, but now that the Lord brought me through this, now it's one of the greatest joys of my life, is to be able to walk in there, particularly because I'm not a patient at this point, even though I have been for many years. But at this point, to be able to pray for people. And how often, Barry, people will say to me, no, I don't need prayer. No, I don't want prayer. So I'll give them a little card, say, here's my number. And sure enough, the next day, they'll call me and say, can you come back and pray for me? I'm happy to. To me, that's a little bit of heaven on earth for me, to experience something like that.
Well, I want to say to our viewers and listeners, here's a thought. Now, this testimony of Peter John today is going to be on the Dove website on our YouTube channel as well. Last month, we had over 200,000 YouTube views worldwide.
Wow.
Okay?
That's cool.
And a lot of it was testimonies like this. So I want to encourage you to take the copy of Peter John's testimony and share it with your friends, and get a copy of the book. You can go to Amazon. It's only $4.99, I think, on Amazon. $5, or you can go to Peter John's website, peterjohncourson.org or com.
I don't know.
Okay.
How's that for? My brain hasn't totally recovered.
That's all right. You make me feel real good. I want you to know.
Good. I'm glad I can do that.
Just Google Peter John Courson. It'll come up.
Yeah, it'll come up somehow.
And is it at the bookstore at the church?
At the church at Applegate Fellowship.
Well, you can get it out there. But look, you could read this and nothing flat, but I think you'll find it as a resource that you'll keep going back to and finding encouragement. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you for having me.
Blessings to you.
Thank you. And thank you for your prayers. And God answers prayers. And if anyone in the valley here needs prayer at the hospital, give me a call. I'd love to come pray for you.
He's the man. Thank you, buddy. All right.
Okay.
We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.